help you to improve your memory, all right? So I'd like for everyone to close their eyes, and I want for you to just do your best to imagine what I described to you. Do your best to picture what I described to you and see it happening in your mind. This is a warm-up visualization exercise that we're going to do. So I want for you all to imagine that you walk into your residence, the place that you live. Imagine that you are walking into the living room area of your residence. All right? In the middle of your living room, you see there, standing behind podiums, Barack Obama and John McCain. Okay? Barack Obama and John McCain are standing in the middle of your living room, and they look as if they are about to debate. Now, this seems rather strange to you, but instead of asking any questions, you decide to just hang back and observe what's going on. Okay, so they begin to debate. Picture that as best you can. They begin to debate, and you notice that the debate appears to become more and more heated. And McCain visibly becomes very upset at something that Obama says, and he reaches behind his podium and he pulls out a pie. Okay? He pulls out a pie. He takes this pie and he throws it at Barack, and Barack now has pie splattered all over his face. Do your best to picture that. Now, Obama is pretty upset by this, so believe it or not, he reaches behind his podium and also pulls out a pie, takes it, throws it at McCain, and apparently Obama has pretty good aim as well, because McCain now has pie splattered all over his face. Just do your best to picture that. Now, what was once a debate has turned into a full-blown pie fight, and the politicians are continuously throwing pies at each other. Just do your best to picture that. Now, if the imagery isn't crystal clear, that doesn't really matter. Just do your best to see that happening in your mind. Okay? Now, at this point, you are all primarily experiencing visual images in your mind. You're seeing that pie fight happen, but what I want you to do now is attempt to get even more senses involved as you experience this in your mind. Imagine now that you can not only see the pie fight happening, but imagine you can hear it happening. Imagine that you can hear the pies flying through the air. You can hear the pies as they're splattering all over the politicians. Do your best to imagine hearing it happen. Okay? Now go ahead and imagine that you can even smell the pie. Okay? Imagine you can smell the pie fight happening. Just do your best. Okay, take it a step further now and imagine walking up to one of them and imagine that you take some of the pie off of their face and you feel it in your hands. Maybe it feels sort of sticky. Just do your best to imagine doing that. Okay, and now go ahead and take some of the pie and put it in your mouth. Taste the pie. Hopefully you're imagining some pie that tastes pretty good. Okay. Go ahead and open up your eyes, everyone. Open up your eyes. Now, that was a pretty simple exercise, right? Pretty simple for everyone to complete. Well, what I want you to know is that if you were able to complete that exercise, then you actually have the ability to remember anything that you want to remember quickly and easily. And here are some reasons why. Reason number one, I had you exercise your visualization ability there, and your visual memory is incredibly powerful. An example that I always give in my speeches and presentations is a situation that we've all experienced at some point in our life where we will see someone that we may have met even years in the past, right? We see them and we recognize their face. We know that we met the person. We know that we met them somewhere before, but no matter how hard we try, we can't seem to come up with the name. Why is that? Well, when you met the person, you actually saw their face with your eyes. You saw the face was recorded into your visual memory, but at no point did you ever see the name. That's why it's more difficult to remember the names. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to talk to you about how you can picture names so that you are better able to remember them. But for now, just note the power of your visual memory. Another thing to take away from the simple exercise, I had you get many of your senses involved as you were experiencing that scenario happen in your mind, right? As you get more and more of your senses involved in the encoding process when trying to memorize something, you're actually activating more and more parts of the brain, all right? When you're activating more and more parts of the brain, you're building more and more connections to that information that you want to remember, so it becomes very easy to recall it later on. A third thing to take away from that simple exercise, I had you imagine something that was a bit unusual, right? It's something out of the ordinary that you wouldn't expect to see every day, something a little funny, right? That's because there is a psychological aspect to memory as well. When we see things happening that we wouldn't ordinarily see, if we see something funny or interesting happening, we're much more likely to remember it. All right? So now what we are going to do is we will take everything that we've learned from that simple exercise and we will now apply it to memorizing a random list of words. Okay? The random word list is monkey, iron, rope, kite, house, paper, shoe, worm, envelope, pencil, river, rock, tree, cheese, and quarter. Okay? That is the random word list. And as usually happens, I'm getting looks from people in the audience like, there's no way I'm going to be able to memorize that, at least not with quite a lot of time. But in fact, you will all have that random word list perfectly memorized within a few minutes. Okay? And how you will accomplish that is, again, you will merely listen to what I described to you and just do your best to picture it and see it happening in your mind. Okay? So the first word was monkey. I want for you all now to imagine that you see a little monkey dancing around in your mind. Little monkey's dancing around. He's making monkey noises, hoo, 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 whatever a monkey would sound like. Just do your best to imagine that. The monkey's dancing around, and he picks up now a gigantic iron, because the next word was iron. So the monkey picks up a giant iron. He's dancing around with that iron. Okay? The iron starts to fall now, though, and a rope attaches itself to the iron, because the next word was rope. A rope attaches itself to the iron. Feel the rope. Imagine feeling the rope. You look up the rope and you see that it's attached to a kite, because the next word was kite. You see this kite, it's flying around in the air, it's flying around in the air. Maybe you try to reach up, but you can't quite get it. The kite's flying in the air. Now you see the kite crash into the side of a house, because the next word was house. So the kite crashes into the side of the house. And you notice that this house is, for some strange reason, completely covered in paper. Okay? It's completely covered in paper, because that was the next word. And a shoe now magically appears and starts to walk all over that paper. The shoe is walking all over the paper. And it smells really bad for some reason. So you decide to investigate, and you see a little worm crawling around inside of the shoe, because that was the next word. Do your best to picture that. You see the little worm crawling around inside of the shoe. Now you see the worm jumps out of the shoe and into an envelope, because that was the next word. So picture that. The worm jumps out of the shoe and into the envelope. And a pencil now appears and starts to write all over the envelope. A pencil appears and starts to write all over the envelope. Okay? Now that pencil, you see, jumps into a river. There's a huge splash. It's just a little pencil, but it splashes really big when it hits the river, because the next word was river. So see that happen? The pencil goes in the river. Next, the river crashes up against a rock. The river crashes up against a rock. The rock now flies out of the river and into a tree. And you notice that tree is, for some strange reason, growing cheese. Okay? That was the next word, cheese. So for some strange reason, it's growing cheese. And out of each piece of cheese shoots a quarter. Okay? Out of each piece of cheese shoots a quarter. Now, I will go through this again, but very, very quickly. And as I do, just do your best to play through this story in your mind. So we had the little monkey dancing around, picked up the giant iron. Attached to that was the rope. You looked up the rope, attached to the kite. The kite flew in the house. The house was covered in paper. The shoe walked all over the paper. Inside of the shoe was a little worm crawling around. The worm jumped into the envelope. The pencil appeared, wrote on the envelope, right? Pencil jumped into the river. The river crashed into the rock. The rock flew into the tree. The tree was growing cheese, and out of each piece of cheese shot a quarter. Okay? So now you should all be able to recall that random list of words in order by simply playing through the story in your mind and recalling each major object that you encounter. So we will do that now as a group, starting with the first word, which was monkey. Excellent. Give yourselves a round of applause. Very nice job. Very nice job. Excellent. So you